Hello, and welcome to the Vergecast, the flagship podcast of QuickShare, which is kind of like AirDrop, only different. I'm your friend David Pierce. I am joined by two of our friends in the New York studio, Nilay Patel. Hello, sir.
QuickShare is European AirDrop.
And V Song. Hi, V.
Hello.
It's like kilometers.
Exactly. It's
European miles.
It works the same, but all the numbers are slightly different, and none of it matters all that much anyway. We are here because today is Pixel Day. Google, in its inimitable wisdom, has chosen yet another deeply bizarre way to launch a bunch of its new products. It told us about these products a while back. They're launching this morning, and then there's a big event with Trevor Noah tonight that V, I believe you have been conscripted into attending, correct?
I was voluntold to go.
I'm excited for you. How are
Trevor
you feeling
Noah
about
is a
this?
delight. You're going to love it.
He's fine.
You're right.
He's
The Jimmy Fallon event last year was like, I would say, borderline awkward enough that it was maybe not a great time. I feel like Trevor Noah will at least be a good time.
I lost my mind last year watching Jimmy Fallon, especially when he held the phone upside down and then clapped his hands like a seal, saying, "Tensor."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Look, there's a thing happening that we should just say out loud. There's the event for nerds to hold phones and write about specs. Mm-hmm. That's our event. Mm-hmm. Then there's what you have to do to get hundreds of videos that are like, come with me to Google's Pixel event, where Jimmy Fallon says the word tensor for money. These paths are diverging.
Inside of us, there are two wolves.
Right. There's the creator money, which maybe we should go get, and then there's like doing the news. And I think Google is just like, screw it, we got to split them up. Because I think they tried to do them both at the same time last year.
Yep.
And it drove everybody bananas.
No, the embargo was still earlier than the event last year, and everyone thought we broke embargo. And it's like, no.
Oh, they think that this year too. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I know. But we didn't.
It's all been very complicated.
You know what? It's not in Brooklyn Navy Yard this year. I don't have to trek to the most isolated part in Brooklyn that is accessible by ferry and like the F train via York Street. I can go to Hudson Yards, which is like the other inaccessible part where no.
Well, now you know where V's
going
to be today, everybody.
Go say hi to V, but be cool about it. We should talk about all the stuff that they launched. So there's a new line of Pixel phones. There's a new Pixel Watch. There's a new Pixel Tag. There's a foldable phone. There's a couple of like little software-y announcements we should talk about. But we should start with the phones, right? And to frame some of what we're about to get into, our friend and current contributor, David Imel, went and saw these phones. He is like gallivanting in Europe somewhere right now, so he couldn't be on the show. But he went and saw the phones, and he made a hands-on video. We're going to show it to you right now, and then we're going to dive into these phones.
Camera bar, so it's a little more, edge to edge there. The glass on the cameras is straight across the camera. It's very edge to edge now. And overall, these phones are just a little nicer and a little more refined than they were previously. Another new feature on the Pixel 11 Pro that replaces the temperature sensor from last year is the new highlight feature.
Highlight is effectively a little visual LED that glows when you're talking to Gemini and when you get calls from your favorite contacts.
There aren't a ton of hardware changes this year in the phones, but there are a lot of changes in the software. On the Pro this year, you are getting a 30% bigger telephoto lens, so you're going to get a lot better optical quality on telephoto shots. You're also getting things like much faster night sight on the Pro, which is up to 4.5 times faster than the previous Pixel. But one of the new biggest camera features this year is the new Camera Looks mode. So Camera Looks is Google's response to people wanting a more vintage look out of their smartphone. Smartphone cameras have gotten a little too good in the last few years, so they've added a bunch of new modes that kind of give you a digicam style look. There's about 10 total looks in the camera, but these aren't just filters. They're actually changing the way that they do the HDR capture at a sensor level, which is a pretty big deal. There's also a new magic capture mode, which is really front and center in the camera here. When you enable that and start recording, the phone will automatically pull out really good photos and videos from the scene around you when you wave your phone around. It's actually pretty cool. There's also the all-new Creator Suite in the video mode, which gives you things like a teleprompter, automatic clip project folder saving. You've got an audio visualizer, kind of everything that a social media creator would need to make videos on their phone. Now, there's a lot of colors available for these phones, so make sure you check out the website to see all of them. But the Pixel 11 is going to come in at $899 starting, and the Pixel 11 Pro is going to come in at $1099 starting. If you want to see more about all of this, make sure you go to theverge.com to check it out.
It's great advice from David Imel. Do all of that right after we finish this live stream. Don't go anywhere until then. So, okay, we should go through these phones kind of one by one, but the just basic sort of overall information about the new lineup of Pixels. There's the Pixel 11, the Pixel 11 Pro, and the Pixel 11 Pro Fold, and the Pixel 11 Pro XL. 4 phones with all different complicated names. Anyway, the phones are all, and well, we'll get to the watch, V. Just
No, I
It's
have
a
the
fold.
fold.
Oh, you
I
have the
the
fold on you?
I have the fold on
And now
me.
I
It's
have
tall
a fold, and Fee's never getting it back.
Okay, so these
Yoink.
phones, there are a few things that are sort of overall true about this whole lineup. They're all $100 more expensive than last year. Like David said, the 11 starts at $899, and they go up from there. The good news next to that is that they have gotten rid of the 128 gig storage model, and now the base model of all of these phones starts at 256. The lesson we're learning from the tech industry is that like flash drive memory is cheap and RAM is expensive. So everybody is doing less RAM and more storage, and that's fine. Basically, they all run the Tensor G6 chip. The 12 gigs of RAM is the baseline now. Some of them go as high as 16. They're promising better battery life. They have Qi 2.2 charging that's a little faster. In most ways, these phones are identical, and we can get to some of the ways in which they are different. But the Pixel lineup has always kind of been like this. Their big idea is about software and Gemini and AI and all of the things that they can do without needing bleeding edge hardware. And it is worth saying, nothing about this is bleeding edge hardware, which is kind of where I want to start on these phones. Just from a pure, like, what's in the box here perspective, Nilay, I don't think we expected to be like blown away by what Google came out with on the spec sheet of a Pixel, but this is pretty milquetoast when it comes to Pixels.
Yeah. I mean, I can probably spend the next half hour just talking about what they're doing in the camera.
We're going to. Don't worry.
Your point that Google never tries to be at the bleeding edge of hardware specs and is constantly trying to push forward what Android can do at the software level. Obviously, the amount of Gemini in this phone, there's a literal light on the Pro that's like, look at me, I'm Gemini. Like, that's what the focus of these phones really is.
Yes.
And then we can always just be honest about the reality of the Pixel line as a whole, which is that it's for enthusiasts and to keep Samsung in line. That's its job. Right.
Yeah.
And as long as those two things exist, like, job done, which is why I think Google rolls them out the way they roll them out. Fundamentally, competing at the high end of Samsung is not the point.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think that's a mistake, honestly. Like, you look at this and the things that you just said, right? This is for enthusiasts. Like, God, who might care about the Geekbench results for the Pixel and all of these different devices? Enthusiasts. There was a whole mini kerfuffle around the last run of phones because the last version of the Tensor processor did horribly in benchmarks. The overwhelming feeling was that actually it doesn't really matter. You basically can't find a game on Android that uses all of the available CPU and GPU anyway. So who really cares? But we're also at a moment where it's like, okay, we're imagining all of the new things that your phone can do for you. Local AI is the future of everything, according to everybody, including Google in many cases. Shouldn't you be investing in making my hardware as fast and capable as possible at this moment in time? Like,
I can make an even stronger argument. You made the price go up. This thing should last a long time.
very true.
Right? If you're going to charge more money, then I should expect this thing to last longer than usual. Now, it's not a huge jump the way that we've seen laptops take huge jumps and other phones take huge jumps. It's $100 and you do get more storage. But I would say value for dollar is expressed now in time.
Yeah.
Right? If you spend a lot of money, you don't want it to just last 2 years. You want it to last 4 or 5. And I don't know if this hardware has that longevity in it. I think your point about AI is interesting, but all of Google's AI is in the cloud. Like, the real action here is the camera and like being for creators and like making a lot of things more automatic in like interesting ways in terms of content creation. I don't think there's another big set of ideas here that you're not going to get on another phone.
Yeah, I think that's right. V, you're less like CPU pilled than some of our phone people. You also, just saw the new Samsung devices. Like, were you disappointed by the hardware here at all?
Not really. Well, you know, I usually am pretty far down on the list of getting a phone, so I'm just enjoying opening and closing
That
this
color
thing.
is very pretty.
It's a very pretty color, and
Yes.
I was like, ooh, I get to play with foldable and pretend to be Allison today.
Is that the
Yay.
pistachio fold, by
This
the
is
way?
the pistachio fold,
Okay.
yes, look, or olive, or you know, the green color.
It's lovely. It's really
very
nice.
Lovely. It's very pretty. I've been like, it matches my nails. I love it. It's a good little fold. I did wear it as a hat.
See,
At
that's
one
what
point.
else do you need to know? Trevor Noah, take notes.
No, but it's nice. Like actually, you know, as the premier color obsessee on staff, I was looking at the colors very intently.
Do you need us to make space for you to have a 10-minute crash out about the name of one of these colors, as you are wont to do on this show?
Listen, that was only about the Fitbit Air, and it made a lasting impact. Okay, I had many discussions with various Google people about colors and what we
Happy to
name
hear
them.
that.
But no, they're great. I really love the hibiscus color, which is a very bright pink.
That's the magenta one. That is clearly the best color, right?
Yeah,
I feel like
that's
in
the
every one of these lineups, there is a color that is just obviously clearly the best. And in this case, it is the magenta color, which I think is gorgeous.
I fully agree with that, though David Amell does not. We had he was like, "Are your eyes not bleeding looking at this?" And I was like, "No, they're crying tears of joy because it's a saturated color, which some tech companies don't love."
Yeah. Even Google, even this color is kind of a muted army green.
Yeah, it's a very muted green, but you know, like I like that there's options. You can have the aggressively pink phone, or you could have the muted green phone, and they're both beautiful colors. Wonderful palette this year. It was really funny because when we were at the content capture for the the regular 11 phone, I had like a Google guy run up to me. He's like, "If you put the case on, it'll lie flat on the table." And he's like, "Put the case on." So I put the case on. He's like, "Doesn't it lie flat? Do it on both sides. Does it lie flat?" And
This is because there's a viral video of somebody cutting the camera bump off a Z Fold 8 with a razor.
yeah,
They're just letting you know that you can spend more money to make the phone lie flat.
yeah, basically.
Sure.
good.
And it was like, "Look, it's flat." And I was like, he was so excited, and I was like,
You know what? You know what's not true about this phone though, and it's expensive. I think the Fold is what, $1,900. The base?
yeah, I think it's about 1900.
We're in the time of no creases, right? Samsung really got that crease to go away. All the rumors are Apple's going to get that crease to go away. This is one of the creasiest crease phones in quite a while, and I think it's because of the durability. Like Google's like really very proud of how durable this is. You can't crack it, all this stuff. And I think there's at least one hardware compromise here. It's funny because $1,900 is not cheap. It's not like
No, I
the
did.
Z Fold 8 Ultra is $2,100. Like I think I can see $300 here.
Yeah, no, I went home and I was like, I finally got my hands on a foldable because Allison is out until next week. And my husband went, he went like, oh, yoink, opened it. And he's like, there's a crease, yoink, passed it
it's all
back
over.
to me. So I was like, okay, well, I'm still having fun. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we can dispense with the specs of this phone fairly quickly, but I do think there's one thing that Nilay, as the resident display enthusiast, I have a genuine question, which is that one of the big upgrades on the Pro is that it has a brighter screen that this time, instead of being 3,300 nits of max brightness, is 3,600 nits of max brightness. I mean this absolutely sincerely. Does that matter? Like, is that a real upgrade that you will notice?
It is hard to say without trying to get it to hit peak brightness in sunlight for more than 5 minutes. Because what they can all hit their peak brightness, and then they get hot, and then they throttle. And like
A problem
we've all had this
Pixels
experience
famously
now.
have.
Yeah. So who knows? I like it. Everybody wants more searing HDR content when they're watching a movie on a plane, as Christopher Nolan intended on the back of their phone. But the real question is, the point of that peak brightness is not HDR content. It's sunlight viewing. And sometimes these phones can hit it and then they pull back pretty aggressively, and we just have to find out.
Okay.
But it's great if they can do it. I mean, they're also claiming vastly improved battery life. These are ideas that are in total tension with one another.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot here that is Google trying to convince buyers and users that raw specs don't matter because what they've done is actually make things more efficient, right? That night sight will run faster. They're not saying we have some shocking new low light camera technology. They're just saying we can do this thing more quickly now. They're saying the thing is more efficient, which in theory should be good for battery life. It should mean it doesn't run as hot. There are a lot of upsides and downsides to Google's spec race here. But the thing we have to talk about, which I cannot believe we have to talk about before we get to the software, is the temperature sensor, which is gone. and I think the temperature sensor to me is like, I honestly could not have told you why it existed, but it turns out that in the couple of hours now since these phones have gotten launched, there has been an internet-wide mourning of the temperature sensor. I want to talk in a minute about what it's been replaced by, but I think this feature existed in theory to let you tell the temperature of things. Like, this always struck me as a weird feature. Why are people worried about this feature?
I don't know.
Okay.
To be quite frank,
don't either.
like I feel like it came like sort of after the COVID era where, you might want to take the temperature of things. I vaguely remember testing it and being like, sure, okay.
Wait, refresh me. This is an ambient temperature sensor or like a point and click infrared?
It was as I understand
gun.
it was a point and search temperature gauge that you could take the temperature of a thing by pointing.
Oh, sure.
the
Like
sensor
every
at it.
single person who's like, I'm making a brisket on my Traeger grill is like pointing the thing. I get it. I understand these people. You're my people. I love taking the temperature of things. What are you talking about? That ruled. Instead, I got a notification light. Get out of here.
Man. Okay, so this is the problem. They replaced it. There have been rumors about the Pixel for some time. This, again, in Google's infinite wisdom, it loves to just launch its own phones months before it launches its own phones. This thing has been leaked to death, and there was this feature, I think people were calling it Pixel Glow or the Glow Bar or there was this idea that there was going to be some cool new light feature. What it actually is a feature called Highlight, HILIGHT. Hate that. It's a light that says hi. No, thank you. But anyway, what this thing is it's a little light on the back on the camera bar that does precisely two things. It glows when you're talking to Gemini, and it will glow when you get calls, phone calls only, from favorite contacts. That is the least interesting feature you could possibly launch.
I don't know. I think
space.
it's kind of cute. I think it's cute. I don't really see the point of it lighting up while you're talking to Gemini because it's like I feel like we're trying, or at least some people are trying not to advertise that they're using AI as much or whatever, unless you like to have a robot book club.
So, to that point, actually, I think you just answered your own question, which is that the whole idea here is that you can do this stuff with your phone facing down, and I think you are going to get a lot of people who want the tiniest little indication that Gemini is working without actually having to look at their phone and talk to AI.
This is the same exact concept as any Echo Dot, any Sonos speaker with a voice light, like the HomePod, right? The phone's upside down on your table. You say, "Hey, Big G." I'm trying to be polite to our audience. "Hey, Big G," and then it boops at you, and now you're talking to your robot girlfriend.
Yeah,
right. Aaron Rodgers is going to talk to his wife.
But it's trying to be
There's
really
a conspiracy
subtle about
theory that I'm hinting at here that I want everyone to latch onto. I want everyone to understand what I just said. But this is the idea that we're going to have a screen-free future, and there's a class of devices that are totally natural language operated. Sure. And maybe your phone can be that if you just replace the extraordinarily useful temperature sensor with a little light. And now you're going to have that thing. And it's going to be, I guarantee you, put all of your meeting notes into Notebook LM happen in some way with this light.
Yes, the idea of being able to do things with your phone down and get some bit of information without looking at your phone. These are all good things, right? This is the stuff everybody's doing in wearables, right? How do we give you this like little bit of ambient information about what's going on without making you look at a screen or pull out your phone or do whatever? Even if this was just a light that there was a settings menu for that you could be like, make it this color when this happens, make it this color when this happens, make it blink Morse code at me. Like, and Google sort of intimated to David that it's planning to do these things, but right now it basically does none of them. And this is just a useless feature in my, like, what a weird, incredible miss from Google on this to me.
I don't know if it's a miss. I just, even if all you did was have like it light up when a certain contact comes, I find that kind of useful. I keep my phone face down all the time anyway, but like if I know that a certain special person is calling that I've allowed, I will pick up the phone. Otherwise, I don't. So I don't know. I find it kind of useful. Maybe
wouldn't
I'm
it be
in the
nice if you had
minority, but
text
why are we
messages?
measuring things?
What if
with
it could be
temperatures?
anything? Well, sure.
Like, I just find that infinitely
I'm
more
gonna
useful
get you
for
a
more
cheap
people.
temperature gun, and your whole life
I
is gonna
have a
change.
temperature gun, and it's just like, 98.6, just what I expected for a human. Like,
I'm just saying.
is
Look,
getting
we live different lives. I live more of a data-oriented life. And that's
Nilay,
that's not
was
good.
your experience of getting a temperature gun like my experience of getting a label maker, where it's a real like once you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail situation?
Yeah, that's right. You're like,
Yeah.
how much? What are these children? Oh, they're a little bit under. Like, it's fine. It's good.
Just
Sure.
diagnosing strangers' children at the park. That's not weird.
You don't walk around the park with a higher temperature gun. So there, we saw the comment. It's like, you can get the $20 gun off Amazon. Yes, that's what I have, and I patrol my local playgrounds.
Good lord.
I'm just saying, here, okay, I want to get to the camera. It's very important to
Yes.
do the camera. The one thing I'll say about the light and the flipping the phone over, and the whole point of flipping your phone over in social situations is to indicate, to communicate to everyone around you that you're not paying attention to this thing. Because otherwise you just keep it in your pocket,
Yes.
right? But if you're like me and you just carry your phone, you're looking at it all the time, I'm actively going to not look at it, is a thing you communicate by putting it face down. Putting a light on the back that has your robot wife on it is the opposite of that, right? It's now the phone can interrupt you and you can interact with it even though it's upside down on the table.
Yep.
I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm saying it is a change to the etiquette of putting your phone face down on the table. And I'm very curious how that plays out with this device in particular, given how much every AI company wants you to record everything all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the point of this light in like a very important and meaningful way, is to make sure the AI is present, even though you've done the thing that says your phone is not present.
Yeah, and Google is at the forefront of we want you to record everything all the time, right? Like the Pixel recorder gets ever better. Gemini Notebook is very much an incredible input machine that is going to want all of this stuff. Like the everybody is doing AI notes thing. Like, good lord, is that coming for Google Meet at some point? Like Google is going to do this kind of thing, and I think you're right at it. But let's talk about the camera. This is fundamentally the thing. The specs are slightly different on the phones, but the big new stuff here is all about the hardware. And in fact, Google is shoving a bunch of new stuff into the camera app specifically, not doing stuff in Google Photos, not putting stuff sort of at the end of the imaging pipeline, like actually changing the way that you are supposed to use and interact with your camera. And Nilay, can you just explain what camera looks is? We on this show spent, I don't know, 30 to 40 hours talking about the photography styles on the iPhone when that launched. This is like that, only much more so.
Yeah.
And I'm very curious how you're thinking about it. But can you explain like what this actually is first?
Yeah, Camera Lux is a way of altering the imaging pipeline on the Pixel itself at the sensor level to basically compete with, well, I don't know, what Fuji does with film looks on their point and shoots. It's their recipes for HDR to make them look like, I think there's one called Digicam. There's another one called Vanilla, which I think is just a very funny name for a photo look. And you are altering how the camera itself captures light, captures information, does the HDR merge, thinks about sharpening to get drastically different looks off the sensor. I would compare that to Apple, which runs their whole photo pipeline the same way every single time, and then lets you sort of adjust how the software cooks all that sensor data at the end. There's two approaches to this. I really recommend reading David's interview with Isaac Reynolds, who runs the Pixel camera. We've been talking to Isaac for years. He's very sharp about this stuff, and there's some stuff I want to call out from the piece. But I would just say Apple's approach lets you do non-destructive editing. So you take the photo and you can re-edit that photo all kinds of ways, and however you want, you can make a mistake. It appears the Pixel way is like a runtime decision, right? You're going to take the photo and that's what you're going to get because you're not capturing all the frames of HDR. I think this is one of the smartest moves Google could make with its camera at this time.
Really?
And yeah, and there's a few reasons for that. One, Apple and Samsung are the volume players. and they both have a pretty basic problem, which is they can never get a photo wrong. Right? If you're the average customer of the average iPhone and you are like, family, we're at the restaurant, stand in front of this giant window on the way out to get the group shot, you cannot underexpose the faces. You cannot blow out the window. You just got to get that right. That same camera has to take a picture of like a receipt and not get it wrong. That same camera has to absolutely get the video of your kids singing at the recital. Like the camera can never get it wrong. And so they produce what we're really used to, which are these ultra averaged out, pretty clinical smartphone photos that are over HDR'd. And then there's some settings you can go in and screw with it if you want, but they also really don't want you to make a mistake. So the settings are non-destructive and there's a limit to what you can do. Google doesn't have the volume problem, right? Like they don't have to ship a phone to 10 billion people that can never get a photo wrong. They know what they're doing. Like they know they're playing a much smaller market. And so they've gone and said, look, we have the ability at HDR capture to not take as many frames, to blow out the window, to have 50 different looks, right, in the HDR. And instead of picking the default that will always get it right, we're going to let you pick. And then maybe you got it wrong, but that's an artistic choice that you've made. And now that will attract people who want more control over their camera in ever more dramatic ways. And I just think back to the Pixel 2. The Pixel 2 had a look. And people chased that look. Apple had to react to that look. It was contrasty. They talked about Caravaggio. Like they were talking about painters, and they got away from that. And they got to the same averaged out look as every other camera over time. And the last time I sat and did a really intense camera review with Allison over at Last iPhone, the point I got to is all these phones are the same. It truly, you cannot tell these cameras apart anymore unless you have a sickness in your mind like I do. Right. And but on a phone screen, they all look the same. And I think Google's saying, nope, we're going to be really different. We're going to let you take better photos. And when people on Instagram say, what camera is that? The answer will be the Google Pixel out of the box, not I shot raw in halide on an iPhone and put it through Lightroom,
Right.
which is my answer all the time. Yeah. And I think that in terms of just differentiating this phone, saying, actually, there's a lot of different ways to do HDR. You can get a lot of different looks out of computational photography, and we're not going to pick the average, so we're always right. We're going to let you pick a literal artistic interpretation. Like in the smartphone camera market right now, there are very few players doing that.
The thing I love about this too is that Google is implementing this feature by just giving you a bunch of knobs and buttons. Yep. There's a great moment in David Amell's story where he's talking to Isaac Reynolds about this, and they land on essentially, we are going to give people so many settings that it made Google uncomfortable. Like we are just seriously. I mean, he says it in the story very directly that he had to have like an escalation meeting with PMs at Google because they were going to do something that is considered so anathema to software design now, which is you can't expose how things work. You can't give people choices. You have to just make a bunch of decisions on people's behalf and then sort of obfuscate the way that everything actually works. What they said is literally, we are just going to give you the controls. We are going to make it so that you can actually do all of the things, or many of the things at least, that you would do on a camera. And we're going to do it at the very beginning of the image process. I have no idea if people will use this. My sense is most people don't even use the photography styles on the iPhone, which are designed to be vastly more approachable. Like, I don't even think people use the camera control on the iPhone, for God's sake. Like, it is hard to get people deep in these menus to do things. But just for Google to give you the option that if you are somebody who wants to, and a lot of this is being aimed at creators, particularly sort of small and new creators, and I want to talk about that approach in a second. But the idea that just you can if you want to is so nice and refreshing and rare at this moment in time that, like, I just love seeing that from the Pixel.
So I'm guessing we have mostly Android users listening to the Pixel live stream. Just a shot in the dark. But if we have any iPhone people, a thing you can do with camera control to just get a taste of this is you can set it to control tone, which is tone mapping, right? And tone mapping is, are the highlights and shadows going to be the same or are they going to be really? Are we going to have more contrast, basically, and more complicated than that? But that's what it is. And I have it set to that, and I slide up and down on tone all the time, because when I'm taking the big backlit photo, you want tone to be 100. You want everything to be exposed at the same level. And when you want to take something more arty, you set it down to like -50 or whatever it is to get more contrast back in the photo. This is a wild amount of control over HDR compared to smartphone cameras past. But you can see, if you use it enough, the limits of it become totally clear to you, right? You're like, I basically am just letting things blow out. And that looks less like a robot took this photo. It looks less like CGI than the normal iPhone photo. You see that with Google, and you're like, oh, I get it. Like, you in addition to giving people all these additional controls, you're gonna let people make the photos look so much different from the beginning that maybe they will come back and pick the Pixel again, which is a real problem for Google.
Yeah.
And if all this run at creators, everybody wants to be a creator. You know, like we see it. It's in the data, right? Young people want to be YouTubers. Making a phone that out of the box is, we're going to shoot clips. We're going to shoot great Instagram photos. We're going to auto edit the clips and put them in folder structures for you. All of that is, to me, actually compelling if what you want to do with your phone is use the camera, right? In a way that, you know, Marquez Brownlee runs around being like, if you want to start a YouTube channel, just start shooting on your phone. And then you're like, my camera roll is a disaster. My plans to be a YouTuber have come to an end because my camera roll is bad. And actually the first step of being a video creator is considering file structures, right? Like, no. Like, there's something here that I just think is very smart in terms of what people are actually doing with their cameras and how to make those cameras look like anything other than the most averaged out, ultra processed HDR photos that we see young people turning against at pretty rapid clips.
Yeah. V, what do you make of all of this? I think about you in this context also as somebody who has spent a lot of time with smart glasses trying to figure out, like, is this the new camera that people want? Is this the camera that I'm going to start toting around with me? Do you look at things like camera looks in these new tools as a big win for Pixel owners?
That's a hard no. I don't know.
You
just choked.
No, I didn't choke. It's just more like, you know, I've played around with it on the iPhone before and been like, okay, cool, but no, I'm just gonna do it myself in post if I want a nice picture. I didn't get around to playing with it as much on these because I am the wearable lady, so I did focus more heavily on the Pixel Watch. But I do kind of take less photos on my iPhone than I used to in the past, just because they do look very boring. And so, you know, I am looking forward to playing around with it a little bit more. I'm a little more interested in the creator suite that they kind of released. Like, it's kind of like a thing of our job where having to remember what I'm going to say in a social video, sometimes I'm just like, sorry guys, got to do another take. So the idea of having the teleprompter there, I was like, oh, that's useful. I might actually try doing that if I could think of it as I've said it multiple times before. I've never really been into foldables except whenever I see Allison at one of these events just doing maximum productivity and blogging on these things. And so I'm so excited to try and be Allison later tonight with this. But also I was thinking like, oh, you know, if I had the expense for a work phone that did have creator tools and I only ever used it to film social video stand-ups for The Verge, that would be useful because usually in my camera roll when I'm doing like the social videos, it's like 4,000 takes of me going, and I forgot what I was supposed to say because the script that I wrote is over there and you can see my eyes moving over to the script and I feel bad. They'll just cut that in post, but like you know, I get it. And my like 11-year-old cousin has told me that she wants to be a better version of what I do, like creating stuff on YouTube. She's like, I could be so much better than you.
Look, the Google Pixel is a phone for
like,
every aspiring real estate influencer in America.
Yeah.
Now's the
there
time.
You go.
Now's the time to take your walkthroughs to the next level.
You say that like it's a joke, but that is a way bigger market than anyone thinks. It turns out. We should actually pivot and talk about the Pixel Watch and the Pixel Tag and the other stuff that's coming out. But first, we have to take a break. So here's an ad, then we'll be right back.
Support for the show comes from Even Realities. For a long time, the reality of smart glasses was that they were these bulky, inelegant pieces of tech that were much cooler in concept than really in practice. Well, Even Realities has fixed that. Even G2 are productivity smart glasses designed to keep real-time support right in view. With teleprompting, conversation support, real-time translation, AI assistance, and more, they help you stay on top of work in daily life. And unlike most smart glasses, they're designed to look and feel like premium eyewear. With no camera and a lightweight 36-gram design you can wear all day. The more context you give them, the smarter they get, adapting to how you work and what you need. To learn more about Even G2, go to evenrealities.com and see how everyday smart glasses keep helpful information in sight so you can stay productive and hands-free throughout the day. And for our listeners, use promo code VERGE at evenrealities.com to get 10% off Even Ring 1 and or Even Clip when you add them to your Even G2 order. That's evenrealities.com, promo code VERGE.
This is advertiser content from IBM. Cold take. My laptop works fine at room temperature, and most things on Earth do. If quantum computers can only function and behave quantumly at insanely cold temperatures, how will they ever become useful to most people? My name is Olivia Lanes. I am the global lead for content and education at IBM Quantum. I want to emphasize that actually cooling down a quantum computer is not really as hard as I think people think it is. It really is just the push of a button that can take your entire infrastructure down to 10 millikelvin. That is not the challenge, scientifically speaking. I also want to emphasize that in the future, we don't envision everyone having their own quantum laptop. Quantum computers are going to live in a data center. Data centers already have their own cooling infrastructure. It's not going to be something that you have to learn how to install and work on a personal level. But that doesn't mean that the discoveries made with the technology won't affect every person. Quantum computing has the potential to touch almost every industry that you can probably think of. If you would like to learn more, you can do so at ibm.com/quantum.
All right, we're back. V,
Hi.
Pixel Watch 5. I was gonna say, because you just talked about your video prowess, I'm gonna play a video of V to
no.
V, but that seems cruel. So instead, I just want you to explain what's up with the Pixel Watch 5.
Well, not much in terms of hardware. You would be very forgiven for thinking this is the same thing as the Pixel Watch 4, but there is a lot of software updates this year. Like,
Wait, to that point though, real quick on the hardware thing, that
Yeah.
seems fine, right? Like I feel like the story of the Pixel Watch 4 is like this hardware is very good. I don't know that anyone came out of the Pixel Watch 4 like furious about the way that it looked. I like the Pixel Watch quite a bit. Did we have big hardware dreams that didn't come true?
No, I think some people want the Pixel Watch to have like sapphire glass to be more durable. The big thing last year, hardware-wise, is that they made the Pixel Watch more repairable, which, Chris Welch, God rest his soul, because he's dead to us now, he cracked the first one.
Right.
We still have the mystery of how my Pixel Watch 2 got scratched up to hell and back. The theory is it was Petey, my cat, as a kitten, did something to it, even though he had baby cat teeth at the time. We don't know. They actually took the scratched up Pixel Watch 2 from my house to a lab to, discover what happened to it. We don't know. It's still
Like
just
detectives? Or
yeah,
cat
like
was here?
detectives, because they were like, they didn't detect cat hair in the thing, but they were just like, all we can tell is that there were abrasions. And I was like, I don't know how it happened, but that hasn't happened since then. But it was a thing that a lot of people had issues with at the time. So they did the repairability last year. So hardware wise, you have a slightly faster Qualcomm chip in here. Cool, like an itty bitty little battery boost, like we're talking 10 milliamp hours, depending on the size, so nothing too crazy. There is a new satin pyrite finish. Cool, sure.
Those are words that I've heard before.
This
Yeah.
is not
None of this is making your heart race, is what I would say.
And
correct.
we know that for sure.
It's very obvious to me how excited V is right now.
Because I did bring up the heart rate on there all of a sudden. Yeah, no, so hardware-wise, the Pixel Watch has finally reached a point where it's like, okay. And, I would say that most smartwatches have reached a point where, like, we've hit kind of max smartwatch innovation in a lot of ways, like the hardware. Unless they figure out a way to make things even tinier, like the hardware is, here's a new sensor, here's this, it's more efficient. So, like, right now, a lot of the hardware bumps in smartwatch land is like, we figured out a way to cram more battery life in there.
Sure.
I mean, that's what everyone needs. Let me ask you this, though.
Yeah.
We've been talking about the Whoops of the world for quite a while.
Yes, the screenless.
Obviously, Google just launched the Fitbit Air. The opportunity for the Pixel Watch, unlike the Pixel phones, is to go get the whole Android market, right? They work with all the Android phones.
Yes.
That at least that's what it says on the tin. So you could go much bigger, and you could say, well, we have the Google Health platform, we have the Fitbit Air. If you don't want to wear the watch, you can wear the Fitbit. It's going to connect to our platform. Like, there's a whole argument you could make, especially to the wider world of Android owners, why this ecosystem, this watch, this health fitness system is the one. And it doesn't feel like Google is making that argument.
I actually think they are.
You think they are?
Yeah, like it's so like when we were talking about the
Yeah.
phones earlier about how like Google knows it has a niche phone audience and like they're not catching up to Samsung. It's opposite in the wearable land.
Okay.
Because Samsung has been coasting in the wearable watch field for a very long time. Like from the Galaxy Watch 6 to the Galaxy Watch 9, I was like, well, the biggest change that I can tell you off the top of my head is that they made some really wonky health metrics. Like I fooled a antioxidant center last year with a Cheez-It. Like that's what I was doing when I was testing these things.
That's the title of V's memoir. By the way, just in
Yeah,
case
I
anybody's
fooled
curious.
Samsung's antioxidant sensor with a Cheez-It. That's my memoir. And like the big thing last year was like, it's a Squircle now. Everything's a Squircle.
Yeah.
And then you look at the Galaxy Watch 9, it's sure is a watch that is like last year's watch. Very, very much kind of coasting. It's a good product. But it's just coasting for a long time. Whereas the Pixel Watch, when you go from 1, where everyone was telling me, like, this will be dead in a year, to the 2, to the 3, to the 4, my review of the 4 last year, I said, this is the Android watch to beat. And the 5, yeah, like, in terms of the health space, they are running circles around Samsung. Like, it's pretty, like, crazy.
Yeah.
Some of the health features that they are releasing with the 5, I was just like, this is novel. Like, no one else is doing that. Like,
Can you talk through a
this-
couple of those?
Yeah.
Actually, like the 3 that you call out specifically are breathing emergency detection, which, as far as I can tell, just calls emergency services if it detects you stopped breathing, which seems good.
Yeah.
I'm in favor. And then there's blood pressure trends and insulin resistance trends. And I'm particularly curious to hear more about the insulin resistance stuff, because this is a thing that is obviously of deep personal interest to you, as you've talked about on the site and on the show. This is also a feature that is not like every smartwatch is getting into sort of similarly niche features, but this seems like a big one and a new one simultaneously for Google.
Yeah, so just like kind of going down the orders of things, like no one else has a breathing emergency detection feature. And so what it is it's like detecting your SpO2 levels or your blood oxygen saturation. And if you go below around 83%, which if you're at 83% blood oxygen saturation for an extended period of time, go to Hospital now. Hospital now. That is a crisis. So it's not for people with sleep apnea. The feature will turn off after it detects 30 minutes of sleep, because smartwatches are terrible. If you're a side sleeper, like the Samsung watches would always say that like my sleeping SpO2 was like 82, which again, Hospital now if that's your SpO2. So they are mitigating for false positives there. It's an extension of last year's loss of pulse feature, which if it detects that you have no heartbeat, it will call emergency services. So it's sort of like for an acute attack where maybe you're choking and you stop breathing, but your heart is still beating, it'll call emergency services or something like that. It's using a bunch of sensors and AI to like call for help. Not in the US. At launch, it's only going to be in Europe because they have to go through all these regulatory things. But it's like an interesting thing. That's not a feature that we've seen on other smartwatches yet. Google is the first to that, which is like, oh, you're the first to an advanced new health feature. Interesting. And then moving on to blood pressure trends, like speaking of Whoop again, Whoop got in trouble with the FDA last year because they're like, we have blood pressure trends too in beta. We'll tell you like kind of an estimate of your systolic and diastolic and whether it's high or low. And the FDA was like, that's diagnostic. And Whoop was like, no, that's a wellness trend. And they kind of got into it. The FDA tweaked the rules a little bit. And then everyone else was like, we also do blood pressure trends. Like Apple did hypertension notifications last year. Aura is like kind of poking around with sleep time, blood pressure trends. It's like, okay, you're using a bunch of the optical sensors to measure pulse wave velocity in your fingies and your wrists, and cool. It's not going to give you an actual reading, but it'll tell you if your blood pressure is trending high or trending low. And it's going to require a minimum of 7 days of data. And then it only gives you that data once a month. So this is meant to be like a check engine light feature, not a diagnostic feature, which is like why, for me, the insulin resistance trends thing is super interesting, because like do that, but for insulin resistance. But typically, and like I had a 10-year journey trying to find out that I was insulin resistant. That was literally 10 years of going to doctors and them telling me, well, girl, I don't know what to tell you. If you have a hard time losing weight, try like eating less and exercising more. And I was like, Jesus.
It's an idea.
Jesus Christ, do I have to pull out my exported PDF files of my exercise data? How? Okay. So, you know, I went on this like pretty invasive journey. I got a lot of different blood draws. I was using CGMs, which I'm also got one in right now.
The things you do for this job.
The things that I do for this job and for all of you, like, y'all don't understand. Like, I have 3 smart scales that I weigh myself on every morning and make me feel terrible. So that's neither here nor there. But the insulin resistance stuff, it's non-invasive. Because usually when you're testing for insulin resistance, you have to get a blood draw, and it's not a typical metabolic panel. You have to get your fasting glucose and your fasting insulin, and then they do a little math equation, and you get something called a HOMA-IR score. And then if you fall within a certain range, you're insulin resistant. But that doesn't, we're getting really into the weeds here. But basically what this is doing is it's looking at your lifestyle trends. And they said because they have such a large data set, they're able to kind of tell whether your metabolic stress, which is what insulin resistance is, it's your body being unable to use blood glucose effectively. So your pancreas has to work harder to create more insulin. So they're saying like, well, you know, based on certain factors, your lifestyle factors and the data that we're collecting passively over a minimum of a 7-day period, we can tell you within a month whether your insulin resistance is trending high or low. And I was like, show me the science,
where's
nerds.
the paper? And
show me the science. They have it. It's published, peer-reviewed in Nature. The sensitivity and specificity, which is like whether you're going to get false positives or false negatives and is always inversely related. I looked at that and I was like, it's not like super high in the 90s numbers, but it's decent. I'm very curious to see how it'll work on me because I'm building a digital AI twin for my metabolism at the moment. I'm psycho, guys. I'm really psycho. I'm getting so much blood drawn. Huh?
You're building a digital AI metabolism twin?
Yes. So
are they going to be cool?
They're not going to be cool, but it'll be able to like tell how I will personally react to certain foods.
Can you give it a Cheez-It?
Yeah, I can basically go like, if I eat a Cheez-It, how is it going to affect my metabolism? And we can model it basically. And it can help me taper off some of my medications, hopefully.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
My digital metabolism twin is such a good hang, you guys. Like, you don't even know.
It's like
Most twins are evil. Like, I don't know what to say.
Oh my God, no. No, my AI metabolism twin will not be cool. That is very true. But the whole point is that I'm so excited to test whether it says that I'm insulin resistant or not. 1, because I'm on medications that mess around with my insulin sensitivity. 2, I am very insulin resistant. I have it used to be called PCOS. Now it's called PMOS, which is polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome, which F's up my metabolism and all of that. It's been a journey, guys. But the point is that a lot of people have insulin resistance. It is a precursor to type 2 diabetes. It can be invisible for years. So getting this kind of detection, if it works, which is a big if it works, could be really helpful for people because, like I said, I went on a 10-year journey to find out I'm insulin resistant, and it was a lot of poking with needles, and I'm not good with
That's not
needles.
great.
Like, ironic considering my giant tattoos, but I'm not great with needles. I'm always like, please.
I do feel like America 2026, Google has a big data set.
Yeah.
They could just be like, most people are probably a little insulin resistant. And then it's like a short hop to, and Google Shopping is going to order you a GLP-1. Like the agents are going to do it. Like you see where this heads inexorably, given what we see all over the rest of the wellness space. As you cover, it's like Maha adjacent.
It's Maha
peptide adjacent.
It's the Whoop is so peptide adjacent. Like
That's what I mean. Like there's a thing that every
Yeah,
Google
it's-
demo ends in a transaction. And I'm always like, where is the transaction going to come from?
Like this is kind of an interesting thing because Google also announced a partnership with Abbott to pull in their CGM data, which I was like, health tech right now is very focused on metabolism and tweaking metabolism and all the things that are happening there. But it's very hard to get any kind of like data or insight non-invasively. So that's the thing that I'm very much like, it's huge if true. It's huge if true. I'm curious to see what will result from the insulin resistance trends. Lord knows I am finally this is like a health detection check engine light feature that applies to me because they're doing sleep apnea and I sleep with almost no snoring, so I'm a useless test subject.
I can't do this for you.
I can't do this for you.
I also think it is like everyone on earth who buys one of these should spend a long time staring at themselves deciding whether they want to put their information into Google Health, because I've been using a Fitbit Air for a while now, and that thing wants you to have such a specific and different kind of relationship with your ongoing health data that even if you are a person who is just like, I want very basic sleep and step tracking and screw the rest of this, you can't do that, right? Like this thing wants all of this data about you, and it wants to spit it all back at you and tell you a lot of things about yourself and give you a lot of recommendations and tell you all sorts of things, all of the like, this is not just a simple relationship anymore with technology, and you should look at it carefully.
Interesting, because I was talking with Rishi Chandra and Sandeep Warag, who are kind of in charge of Fitbit and the Pixel wearable things, and there was like a really big philosophical debate about what a health experience is now, because wearables are at a very weird inflection point. And on the health side, they are just cramming AI into every bit and corner that you can get into. And to your point, I spend a lot of time hand-holding the Google Health AI coach because you have to. Like, I lose my mind on a weekly basis. I actually went screenless during my 2-week vacation prior to this week because I was like, I have so much data and AI health training fatigue. It was driving me a little cuckoo. But everyone's going to have a different health journey, and everyone's going to have different things that they're kind of zeroing into for their health trends. So you can go into the Google AI Health Coach and have a bad time. I went in because I have no concept of health data privacy thanks to this job, and I gave it everything. I was just like, here's everything. I'm going to handhold you through everything that I possibly want. And I actually had a decent experience with it. Like, I've had a garbage experience with every AI health coach, and I've tested every single one basically at this point.
My Whoop is often like, "Good job drinking all that bourbon." It's like, that's not right. That's not the right answer at all.
I mean, my smart bed told my spouse to drink every night.
That's not
to cure
relaxation. That's smart recovery.
snoring.
It's like, sure it is.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's not great. And there are a lot of issues with the Google Health AI coach, which they acknowledged. It's very fixated on how my calves and shins are feeling because one time I mentioned I'm prone to shin splints. So it still has a lot of those issues. And, I talked to other reviewers, and some of them have been like, it's trash. And others have been like, it's super helpful, which is really funny because, we talk about personalized health. We talk about everyone having their own bespoke, experience within these apps now, and that's all dependent on how much information you're willing to give it. And I think if you are not willing to give it a lot, you're your mileage is not going to go very far. So it is a thing that you have to sit and think about what your goal is. What are you trying to solve? But if you do have a chronic illness and you're very well informed about your chronic illness, like I am, and a little bit the most annoying patient to ever exist for any doctor anywhere, you can do a lot with it. It's just it's a very steep learning curve at this point in time. Yeah. So that's my health spiel, but GPS, we should talk about the GPS on this thing because shots were fired. Shots were fired.
Do them very quickly because we promised a half an hour. We're way over.
Yeah, we need to get out of here.
Basically the shots fired is that they said that the GPS, which has historically been shitty on these watches, is now 2 times improved and will be better than the Garmin Fenix 8 and the Apple Watch Ultra 3. And I was like, wow, you guys are that's shots fired. Because
you're gonna have to.
You have to go on a long bike ride now.
You do, but also we're going to need to come back and do a whole thing about the GPS wars here because it turns out there is a whole like years-long GPS battle among wearables that I was completely unaware of that everybody has incredibly strong feelings about, and we're going to have to get into that. But I think weirdly that is the piece of this review that I'm most excited to hear about from you is like, does it know where I am? Important question. So, we do need to get out of here, but I'm curious before we go, whether obviously all of this stuff is pending reviews. We need to test the cameras on the phones. We need to test the GPS. We need to see if the insulin resistant stuff works. Is there anything here that sort of screams huge immediate upgrade people should run to buy this phone?
Absolutely not. A lot of these health features are coming to the Pixel Watch 3 and 4. So
we've gotten a bunch of questions in the chat about like, why wouldn't I go buy last year's model or the year before? And I think the answer to that is go buy last year's model or the year before for most of these things. Nilay, what about you? Is there a shot that some of this stuff is meaningful?
I mean, it's Android and the Pixel. Like, will this version of the Pixel camera be brought to the previous versions of the Pixel? Who's to say, David? But that's why I would buy the new one. I would just maybe wait one turn to see what the community brings to you.
I would say several years running, last year's Pixel has been one of the best Android phones on the market, and that may well still be the case.
Especially when this year's Pixel is the same hardware.
That's true. Judging by the fact that V is holding one of these, I suspect reviews of these are going to come soon. We'll be back on the show talking about all of these when the reviews drop. V has Trevor Noah to go hang out with. Nilay has to, go be fancy somewhere with fancy people. I have to go pick up my kid at preschool. So we all got to go get out of here. Thank you to Travis, our producer. Thank you to Eric and Denise for getting all this done. Thank you to everybody who made all of this happen, including fixing our audio problems. Thanks to all of you for watching and listening, hanging in here with us this long. We will see you back on the show, regularly scheduled programming tomorrow. Nilay, take us out.
Rock and roll.